5 minutes. You know, we've been hearing a lot today about Medicaid. That was not the purpose of this hearing, but I'd like to echo the sentiments of Chairman Walberg. Our Democrat colleagues insist on repeating their misrepresentations about Medicaid. There are no Medicaid cuts. Where do they get the $880 billion figure they keep repeating? They get that because that's the total amount that the Energy and Commerce Committee is tasked with savings as we desperately attempt to get our federal budget deficit and debt under control. Not all of that savings will come, of course, from the Medicaid program. Much of it will come from the EV mandate and so on. But even if $800 billion came from savings from reforming Medicaid, according to the CBO, instead of Medicaid spending over the next decade increasing by $2.5 trillion, it would increase by $1.7 trillion. Only in this city, only in Washington, D.C., is a $1.7 trillion increase a cut. But in many ways, there are many ways, without cutting coverage, that we can save money on the Medicaid program, and we do badly need to do so. We can check eligibility. That alone can save hundreds of billions of dollars. Work requirements can save over $100 billion. We know that Democrat states spend twice as much per capita on Medicaid as Republican states. We could reform gimmicks used by states to juice their take from the Medicaid dollar. And we can eliminate some of these gimmicks. No, there are no Medicaid cuts, but if we are to preserve Medicaid for the most needy and the most vulnerable, we badly need to reform the Medicaid program. Ms. Strauss, I appreciated your testimony in support of the Self-Insurance Protection Act. Self-insurance allows employers to offer an alternative to costly one-size-fits-all traditional insurance plans and Obamacare plans. It can produce long-term financial savings for employers, give flexibility to tailor coverage to the needs of their employees, and invest in employee wellness programs. Reinsurance or stop-loss insurance, which empowers self-insured employers to enter into these agreements, is critical. Reinsurance is a financial risk management tool that protects self-insured employers from catastrophic expenses. We know that in 2022, 103 million Americans relied on self-insurance for their health care coverage. But since the Obama administration, this alternative has been under attack at the state and federal levels. That is why this week, of course, I introduced the Self-Insurance Protection Act. This bill will protect self-insurance by clarifying that federal regulators cannot define stop-loss insurance as traditional health insurance, which common sense dictates it is not. It also prohibits states from regulating stop-loss insurance if those regulations make it inaccessible to employers. Essentially prevents the regulation of self-insurance out of business. Ms. Strauss, in your written testimony, you mentioned that a two-employee small business was able to save over $3,500 annually by transitioning to a level-funded plan by purchasing stop-loss insurance. How does this work, and how does this lead to cost savings?
Yeah, so again, through innovation, what we're seeing here is new opportunities coming to the table. And so when you look at the small group market, that self-funded space is a little different than it would be for these large employers that, essentially are hundreds of employees. And so there are a lot more protections built around the small employers. So then that way, if for some reason they come into a self-funded plan and let's say they do have situations where they have multiple employees dealing with cancer or chronic diseases that might increase those costs, they still have protections, so there's no run out, there's nothing that's going to catch them on the back end. So these have really been put together to make sure that it not only protects those employers and employees, but it does also put them in the driver's seat for their health care. So these plans, typically what they can do is lower deductibles, out-of-pocket maximums, lower those cost shares for office visits, but it also, again, gives those employees the opportunity to drive their own health experience and their own health journey. When you have skin in the game and it directly impacts your paycheck, you tend to be a little bit more engaged with what's going on. So we are seeing, things being diagnosed a lot sooner and better outcomes for employees in these situations.
Well, thank you, Ms. Strauss. I yield back. The chair recognizes Ranking Member Scott of Virginia.